Hello and welcome to Midday Report here on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. In Slovakia, tens of thousands braved torrential rain last night to protest against the government of the country's pro-Russian Prime Minister, Robert Fico. November 17th is traditionally a holiday in Slovakia, marking the Velvet Revolution that brought an end to communist rule in Czechoslovakia. However, Fico's government cancelled it, claiming cost savings. Opposition voices say it is meant to dampen free speech and diminish democracy in Slovakia, and a so-called chalk revolution is now emerging in the country too. Our correspondent Andrew Sweeney has more.
High winds and relentless rain failed to stop tens of thousands from taking to the streets in Slovakia to voice their opposition to Prime Minister Robert Fico's government on what was a national holiday. November 17th marked Struggle for Freedom and Democracy Day for both Slovakia and the Czech Republic, commemorating the anti-communist Velvet Revolution of 1989. Prime Minister Fico cancelled the national holiday this year, claiming cost efficiencies. Opposition leaders like Michal Šimečka say it's an effort to curtail freedoms amidst democratic backsliding in Slovakia.
Robert Fico and his government have abolished November 17th as a public holiday, sending a signal to the citizens of the Slovak Republic as if freedom didn't matter, as if it were unnecessary. And that is exactly why it is important that people came today, despite the weather, to send a message to Robert Fico that freedom matters, especially now.
In Slovakia's capital Bratislava, 50,000 attended the rally in Freedom Square. 20,000 more protested in Košice, and other protests took place in Prešov, Banka Bystrica, Poprad and other cities. Poprad has been the scene of an ongoing protest sparked by a student writing messages in chalk outside of a school to protest against Fico's government. The student, known as Mura, was detained by police for his protest. The Prime Minister then appeared at the school on November 14th to lecture the students and told them to go to Ukraine. In response, many of the students left, jangling their keys as they did so. They act as particular residents in Slovakia, as anti-communist protesters did the same in 1989. Chalk messages have spread across the country as a result, dubbed as the Chalk Revolution. According to Professor Jan Chulik, Fico is at risk of losing his authority as leader.
He's behaving very arrogantly, and the fact that he would actually have a student arrested who kind of made critical sort of actions against him is absolutely shocking. Everybody's been using chalk, putting anti-Fico notices everywhere, so that is quite impressive, and it has weakened Fico.
Torrential rain may have washed away the chalk, but anger against Fico's government amongst opposition groups is likely to remain. For TVP World, Andrew Sweeney.
And now we bring you an update on a developing story here in Poland. Prime Minister Donald Tusk has just delivered a statement following Tuesday morning's extraordinary National Security Committee session. We now know the act of sabotage carried out last weekend was instigated by two Ukrainian perpetrators working with Russian intelligence services. For now, we know that they have left the country. In the wake of the sabotage act, the authorities have raised the public security alert level in the country.
A little over 70 hours have passed. The individuals identified are two Ukrainian citizens who have been working with Russian intelligence for a long time. This is the conclusion reached by our security services and the prosecutor's office, and the result of cooperation with our allies. Their identities have been established at the express request of the prosecutor's office.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is in Spain today as part of a whistle-stop tour of Europe aimed at boosting defense support and reviving diplomatic efforts to end the war.
Zelenskyy arrived at the Spanish Parliament in Madrid, where he was welcomed by the speakers of both houses before heading into meetings focused heavily on defense cooperation. He's expected to sit down with Spain's defense minister and executives from more than a dozen major Spanish defense firms, followed by a lunch with King Felipe. The stop in Madrid follows a broader European push. On Sunday, Zelenskyy secured an LNG supply deal with Greece. And in Paris on Tuesday, he and President Macron signed a declaration of intent on expanded defense cooperation, including the purchase of French military equipment with plans for up to 100 Rafale fighter jets. Zelenskyy also confirmed that he plans to travel to Turkey on Wednesday, where Ankara is preparing to host talks aimed at restarting dialogue with Russia. A Turkish source says U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will also take part.
Polish MPs have voted in a new speaker from the New Left Party. This is following Szymon Hołownia's resignation from his position as Speaker of the Polish Parliament after 2 years in the role. Diana Skaya brings us this report.
This is Poland's new parliament speaker. His name is Włodzimierz Czarzasty. The speaker's job is huge. It's the second most important office in Poland, just behind the president. Meaning if the president can't serve, the speaker takes charge. The previous speaker, Szymon Hołownia, stepped down as part of the original coalition deal. Czarzasty from the New Left Party was next in line. The four parties making up the coalition agreed to this midterm swap, and today the vote confirmed it. Czarzasty needed an absolute majority and got it with 236 votes in favor. The opposition Law and Justice Party voted firmly against him. The election is a historic political moment as Czarzasty is the first politician from the left to hold this powerful position in 20 years.
I would like to thank the coalition that supported my candidacy, and I want to say clearly, I am a member of this coalition. I support the coalition, and I will be a tough, loyal, predictable element of this coalition. I also wanted to sincerely thank Speaker Hołownia. You are a model to follow. I will do everything to try and fill your shoes.
Czarzasty's first act was to call a parliamentary break. He now takes the chair, ready to manage the high-stakes debates in the Polish parliament.
As Poland finds itself in the midst of the aftermath of the most significant act of sabotage to date, here are some immediate reactions to the investigation details as they emerge.
Poland has experienced an unprecedented hybrid attack, while the chief of the General Staff of the Polish Armed Forces, Wiesław Kukuła, said the goal is to create conditions favourable for potential aggression on Polish territory. Sweden's defence minister told TVP World that NATO must work harder to constrain Russia and its suspected hybrid warfare, such as September's drone incursions.
Poland is really role models when it comes to having strong rules of engagements above your airspace, and of course that's why the Netherlands and the Polish Air Force were successful in shooting down the drone incursions that happened to you a month ago, and you are also key allies when it comes to investing into your own defense capabilities as well. So we are having a deeper collaboration with you than we ever had before.
Poland's energy minister says the public will be unaware of many hybrid attacks and sought to reassure people that the government is doing its utmost to protect its citizens and critical services.
This is precisely why we are increasing investment in security, the protection of critical infrastructure, transmission networks, the oil terminal, the LNG terminal and power plants, using our own funds and in cooperation with the services, as well as funds for cybersecurity, so that such incidents do not occur. And every day we patrol and inspect these facilities.
Analysts say that Ukrainian, Polish and European resilience in the face of suspected Russian sabotage shows Vladimir Putin's war strategy is not working.
Ukraine still stands. Poland still stands despite the fact you've had a serious act of sabotage on your soil, on that railway line. Europe still stands despite Vladimir Putin's efforts to break it down and divide it, using Ukraine as basically the country to be devastated, to be annihilated. And as long as Ukraine stands, this idea that Putin has won and that everything is lost, I'm not going to buy that.
Rail services have now resumed in the area. The National Prosecutor's Office is treating the incidents as acts of sabotage of a terrorist nature.
Ukraine has just received its first delivery of American LNG via Lithuania's Klaipėda import terminal. This is what is anticipated to be one of several deliveries that will boost energy security for Ukraine throughout this coming winter.
Battered by Russian attacks and struggling to keep its citizens warm, Ukraine needs to source natural gas from abroad.
This winter, for sure, will be the most difficult. We do need to import more additional volume of imported gas. American LNG.
The country just received its first shipment of American LNG sent to a terminal in the Lithuanian port of Klaipėda. It's one of the many routes Kyiv can use to supply its citizens with natural gas. Ukraine already imports gas from Poland, Hungary and Slovakia. On Sunday, the country signed a contract with Greece.
Our agreements with Greece today are an important part of the large energy package that we've prepared for this winter to provide Ukraine with gas.
This winter, Kiev will have to shell out around $1 billion extra to import the fuel from abroad. Before the war, Ukraine produced 20 billion cubic meters of gas, but recent attacks have knocked out a lot of domestic extraction.
Ukraine has relied heavily on gas extracted from its own production sources. Before the war, they covered about 70 to 80% of the country's demand for natural gas. Now that domestic production is severely hindered.
Before November, Kiev managed to store around 12 billion cubic meters of the fuel. But additional supplies are needed to get the country through the winter, hence the new import contracts.
November 18th is Latvia's Independence Day. The date marks the anniversary of the proclamation of independence by the People's Council of Latvia in 1918. The holiday is also known as Proclamation Day. Celebratory events are held all over the country to mark the holiday, from military parades to concerts and firework displays. The largest parade takes place in the country's capital, Riga, and it gathers thousands of people every year. A more modern tradition features Latvians singing their national anthem at exactly 9 p.m. EET wherever they are in the world. European security is in sharp focus as the Berlin Security Conference opens today. Over 2 days, leaders and defense officials will tackle urgent challenges from strengthening the military-industrial base to countering Russia's hybrid warfare. Here's more from our defense correspondent Zuzanna Jurek in Berlin.
Berlin Security Conference is currently underway in the German capital, and over the next 2 days, delegations from across Europe as well as the world are expected to discuss key issues currently pressing the European continent. This includes the ongoing need to build up the military-industrial base, as well as counteract against some of the sabotage attempts being seen across Europe as part of Russia's hybrid warfare. Now, this conference partner country this year is Sweden, and so as such, Sweden is expected to sign multiple memorandums of understandings with other European capitals on ongoing military strengthening. That includes joint training expected to be signed with Berlin, as well as others, including Poland and the Baltic countries. Now, this conference doesn't come without its own context, and that is we are currently seeing an uptake of sabotage attempts in Europe as part of Russia's hybrid warfare. It was only yesterday that in the east of Poland we observed an explosion of a railway track, which resulted in significant disruptions to the traffic. As these sabotage attempts are going on, this is also expected to be discussed during this conference, all in an effort to ensure that Europe is prepared in order to face these effectively. From Berlin, for TVP World, Zuzanna Jurek.
Dijana Hrka, the mother of one of the victims of the Novi Sad railway station canopy collapse, ended her 16-day hunger strike on Monday, but is determined to carry on fighting for justice. Protesters in Serbia continue to call for the resignation of President Vučić over mismanagement and failure to prosecute anyone over this tragedy.
First, I will call students and citizens for a meeting this evening to discuss further steps. I received a blessing from 2 priests to end the hunger strike. I received it from medical workers from Sombor, Belgrade. I don't know where people wrote from. I also received calls to end the hunger strike, and I will end it today, but I'm staying here. We still live in some hope, and that's why we come here regularly.
Like most people in Serbia, we believe that change will come. This is just an attempt to show that we are on Dijana's side, that her sacrifice must stop because it leads nowhere.
Poland has defeated Malta 3-2 in the World Cup qualifiers. The Polish national football team has finished second in its group and will compete in the playoffs for a spot in the 2026 World Cup, hosted by the United States, Canada and Mexico. Poland had already secured its spot in the playoffs ahead of yesterday's game in Malta. The result of the match, however, was important for positioning in the next stage. Poland's performance was disappointing and Malta was close to making an upset. Polish footballer Piotr Zieliński scored the winning goal in the 85th minute. He said after the game that Malta was able to surprise Poland with its passing and offensive skills. Now the Polish national team can focus on the playoffs. Its next rivals in the fight for the World Cup qualification will be revealed at a draw this Thursday. And this concludes Midday Report. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.